On our wedding day, my husband's wife from his hometown came knocking. She voluntarily left the marriage, and everyone praised her noble virtue. Years later, when the original wife passed away from illness, she was welcomed back with great fanfare, creating a beautiful tale. But I had reincarnated as that original wife, whose bones were picked clean and marrow sucked dry. On the day she arrived, I questioned, "How can you prove you're my husband's wife?" She, and she all claimed to be his wife. Before being escorted to the bridal chamber, a woman burst into the wedding hall, crying out my husband's name, Su Hongchen. "Thank goodness, you're alive." Here it comes. The plot begins. Just before boarding the wedding sedan chair, I suddenly found myself reincarnated as this unfortunate original wife. The woman before me was the female lead, the wife of the male lead, Su Hongchen, from his hometown. Su Hongchen was attacked by bandits while traveling to the capital for the imperial exams, sustaining a head injury that caused him to completely forget her. After passing the exams, he caught the eye of a marquis, who betrothed him to his legitimate daughter. On their wedding day, the woman came knocking. Learning the truth, she refused to put Su Hongchen in a difficult position and voluntarily left the marriage. Everyone praised her noble character, while the original wife was rumored to be jealous. By the time Su Hongchen ascended to the position of imperial tutor, the original wife had passed away from illness. The woman was then grandly welcomed back, securing the title of imperial consort. Everyone in the capital sighed, the original wife truly had no fortune. Was it really bad luck? Probably not. Su Hongchen, just as in the plot, asked with a dazed look, "So who are you?" The woman's gaze fell upon my phoenix crown and ceremonial robes, as if only then realizing where she had stumbled into. She opened her mouth, then shook her head, choosing retreat as a strategy. I'm just your fellow villager." With that, she hurriedly tried to leave. Anyone could see through this act. Su Hongchen was no exception. In the original storyline, Su Hongchen entered the bridal chamber that night, restless and unsettled. He abandoned the original host to seek out the woman and demand answers. What happened next was beyond the original host's control. But I am not the original host. I lifted my veil. Hold on. If you're a fellow villager, why not stay for a cup of wedding wine? You seem so anxious you dared barge into the bridal chamber. Surely you're more than just a fellow villager? The woman slowed her pace, tears spilling down her face. The maid Yin Xiao eyed her suspiciously. Could she be a spy from the enemy kingdom? "Guards, take her to the Ministry of Justice." The woman hurriedly replied, "No, I am Qinsisi, the wife of Su Hongchen. He hasn't written in so long, I was worried about him." The crowd erupted in commotion. The joyous occasion turned ugly. Qinsisi shot Su Hongchen a pained yet resolute glance and declared, "I'm willing to." How could she say it? I cut her off. "Oh? Might I ask, how do you prove you're Magistrate Su's wife?" Before I finished, 3 women burst into the wedding hall, each claiming to be Su Hongchen's wife from his hometown. Look at them! She, and she all claimed to be Magistrate Su Hongchen's wife. Words alone aren't proof. Who should I believe? Magistrate Su's character couldn't possibly be so despicable. The crowd agreed, exactly. You just say it's true? Without any evidence? Su and I shared deep, heartfelt conversations. I refuse to believe he's a debauched man obsessed with beauty. I don't believe it either. Ladies, you must produce proof. See slandering Brother Su's reputation without cause. Qinsisi bit her lip and produced a marriage contract. The crowd passed it around, it's Brother Su's handwriting. Qinsisi and I locked eyes, a flicker of defiance danced in hers. I smiled faintly. Oh? Does it bear the official seal? No. Not only was there none, but it wasn't even in the traditional marriage contract format. Instead, it resembled a love letter Su Hongchen had written to Qinsisi. A marriage without proper matchmaking and formal betrothal rituals is merely a private union. In our village, the wedding ceremony itself constitutes marriage. Qinsisi interrupted the crowd's speculation. At the time, Su was rushing to take the imperial exams in the capital, so we never registered with the authorities. The countryside certainly wasn't so particular about such formalities. I pointed out the inconsistency. Registration at the government office only requires parental proxy. Why hasn't it been done all this time? Magistrate Su left behind many written works. It would be easy for impostors to imitate his handwriting. The matter requires verification. If these young ladies are indeed Magistrate Su's wives, this marriage shall be annulled. I, Jiang Yu, shall voluntarily devote the rest of my life to the lamp and the Buddha. Steward, see our guests out. The guests withdrew. I smiled warmly at the remaining Su Hongchen, Chen Sisi, and his several wives. You all, please leave as well. What do you mean? Isn't this the Su residence? Chen Sisi lost her composure. Su Hongchen's extraordinary talent and status as top imperial scholar couldn't alter the fact he came from humble origins, unable to afford a 5-courtyard mansion within the inner city. Such a minor matter needed no explanation from me. The steward explained, this residence was purchased by the Jiang family. Previously, Magistrate Jiang was the son-in-law, hence the Su residence sign hung here. Now, with everything uncertain, it must be removed. Su Hongchen, his face burning with embarrassment, excused himself. The heavy doors were locked. The Marquis slammed his hand on the table, shattering it. This is outrageous. How could I have misjudged him? But Yuyo, how can we call off the marriage? You are the legitimate daughter of the Marquis' household. I refuse to believe the Su family would dare to make things difficult for you. Su Hongchen and the original host's marriage wasn't merely an arranged match. A year prior, the original host had traveled to her maternal home in Jiangnan. Upon her return, she encountered Su Hongchen, who had lost his memory. Seeing his injuries, she felt pity for him. She allowed him to follow behind her escort, ensuring his safety. Though she never crossed boundaries, she aided him greatly along the way. Precisely because of this, when Su Hongchen learned he was to marry the woman he'd encountered by chance, he felt anticipation and readily agreed. Had the heroine arrived later, after they'd shared the bridal chamber and developed feelings for each other, the original owner's life might not have been so bitter, nor would she have died so young. The Marquis' wife also said, yes, that girl could be a concubine. Father, mother, please stop saying such things. You know I understand your concern for your daughter. But before the marriage is finalized, I remain the Ho family's legitimate daughter. Once wed, I become the wife of the Su household. How I conduct myself in the inner quarters is none of your business. If the Su family truly takes in a new wife, they will inevitably compare her to me. Whether she comes out better or worse, it will be an insult to my daughter. Would they dare? Why wouldn't they? In the original storyline, everyone from Lady Su down to Chen Sisi's 3-year-old child constantly compared the original owner to Chen Sisi, criticizing her for lacking obedience and failing to wash clothes or cook. How laughable. The hands of the legitimate daughter of the Marquis' household, untouched by mundane chores, were never meant for laundry or cooking. I sighed deeply. Father, Master Su is a man of deep loyalty and honor. If he feels he owes his former wife, what if he makes me live as a widow? The original owner remained a virgin until her death. The Marquis's wife broke out in a cold sweat. My poor, unfortunate daughter. What are we to do? Let's wait and see. The instigator of this whole mess, to avoid suspicion, stayed at an inn between the two households. Early the next morning, before I'd even risen, Yin Xiao burst in shouting, Miss! It's terrible! Mr. Su has come to beg forgiveness, kneeling at our gate since dawn. I tilted my chin slightly, signaling I'd heard. Miss, won't you go see? The original owner had harbored strong feelings for Su Hongchen, and Yin Xiao had often worried about her. I felt no urgency. I took my time dressing, ate breakfast, and only then went out. The main gate swung open. He's coming out! He's coming out! Outside, a dense crowd had gathered, all waiting to see how this would play out. Su Hongchen bowed his head to the ground. This humble student has come to beg forgiveness. I apologize to the young lady of the Ho mansion. I've brought a cane myself, to be dealt with as the Marquis' household sees fit. Just as the Marquis' heir raised the cane to strike, I spoke up to stop him. Brother, hold on. This blow might vent anger, but it won't solve the problem. Su Hongchen bowed again, looking deeply remorseful. Minister Su, my daughter has 3 questions. Will you answer them? I shall speak truthfully. Good. First question, was our marriage arrangement your own choice? Yes. Second question, when the Marquis' household inquired about your marital status, did you answer that you were unmarried and also had the officials verify this? Yes. Third question, if you truly had a wife back in your hometown, what would you have done? Su Hongchen fell silent, clearly unprepared for this question. Or perhaps he had prepared an answer he couldn't bring himself to say. The Marquis' anger flared. I honored you by betrothing my eldest daughter to you. You made a mistake, yet you hesitate and prevaricate, intending to wrong my daughter? Couldn't that woman? It was obvious the Marquis still harbored thoughts of dissolving the marriage, even considering making her a concubine. I promptly interrupted him. Father, you've spent your life in military service, seeking only the people's well-being and the peace and happiness of your family. You wish for your daughter to have a smooth marriage, but his wife is also one of the people you protect. Your daughter hasn't done anything for the Zhou kingdom. I cannot, for my own selfish reasons, ruin a woman's life. What daughter would willingly become a concubine? My words moved everyone, and they praised me for my profound sense of duty. I successfully earned a good reputation. Su Hongchen was a disciple of the Minister of Revenue, and his wife was the matchmaker for Su Hongchen and me. The two of them muttered bad luck and told Su Hongchen to come back once he understood the truth. Speak of the devil. Su's parents arrived. In the story, they'd pointed at the original owner's nose with sarcastic remarks, declaring they only recognized Chen Sisi as their daughter-in-law. But now, they wore entirely different expressions. Without hesitation, Su's mother pointed at Chen Sisi in the crowd and declared loudly, "My son is unmarried. Chen Sisi has long admired him and came here of her own accord. My son took pity on her having nowhere to go and took her in." Su's father also spoke sternly, "Hongchen is wholly devoted to the imperial examinations. I feared it would harm his reputation, so I had her moved out." Unexpectedly, Miss Chen was harassed and had no choice but to return. She said she would willingly become a slave or maid, just to stay by Hongchen's side. We couldn't very well throw her out. Who would have thought she would actually claim to be Hongchen's wife? Chen Sisi, trembling from being accused, protested, "That's a lie. It's not true." Su Lang and I went through the wedding ceremony. I'm lying? Then tell me, did you have the 3 mediators and 6 betrothal gifts? During the wedding ceremony, did you pay respects to us? Did you offer us tea? None of that happened. The reason was simple, Chen Sisi had indeed run away. Her uncle wanted to marry her off as a concubine to a wealthy man over 40. Unwilling to accept this, she took the money and fled. After being rescued by Su Hongchen, she moved into his home. They shared their feelings. But Su's parents disapproved, always thinking Chen Sisi was lowly. Su Hongchen and she had married by their own will, bowing to heaven and earth. After conceiving a child, Su's parents agreed to accept her as a concubine. Chen Sisi refused. She had captured Su Hongchen's heart and only wanted to be with him for a lifetime, just the two of them. Both sides remained deadlocked. Over time, through daily life, Su's parents witnessed Chen Sisi's virtues and gradually accepted her. They promised to formally welcome her into the family once Su Hongchen passed the imperial examinations as top scholar. But fate was cruel. Quick-witted Chen Sisi instantly grasped the gravity of the situation. Pressing her hand to her chest, she looked at Su Hongchen with pitiful eyes. She knew she couldn't defend herself. If she insisted on revealing the Su family's original plan, Su Hongchen might be implicated in fraudulent marriage. Better to accept it. Later, when they recalled it, they would still remember her kindness. Chen Sisi bit her lip, ready to admit it. Several people stepped forward from the crowd. Hold on, we have something to report. Speak! This Miss Chen entered the city through the south gate 3 days ago. As she was alone and carried herself with the grace of a noble lady, we couldn't help but observe her closely. Coincidentally, we saw her ask the bean curd seller about the way to Su Zhuangyuan's residence. The bean curd seller bowed respectfully and continued, "Though I'm busy with my livelihood, I remember the day Su Zhuangyuan paraded through the streets vividly. He was handsome, so I couldn't help asking more questions. I clearly recall 2 great pieces of news about Zhuangyuan Su, his name on the golden list and his wedding night. I remember the dates perfectly." Chen Sisi's face paled even more. Everyone present knew that passing the imperial examination was merely the first step, securing an official post was the crucial matter. Many scholars from humble backgrounds, even if they passed the highest level, failed to obtain a decent position. If one could connect with the Marquis's household, the official post granted would certainly not be inferior. The Marquis laughed bitterly. Very well. And you lot? Speak plainly. I am. I sell noodles. Miss Chen asked me for directions to the Su residence. The day before the wedding, I personally saw Lady Chen walk to the front of the Su residence and linger there for the duration of a cup of tea. On the wedding day itself, I spotted Miss Chen drinking tea at the tea house early on. When the bride was led inside, she stood at the doorway. The evidence clearly indicated that Chen Sisi had deliberately waited until that moment to burst in. Before I entered the story, I thought it was just a coincidence the author crafted for dramatic effect. After entering, I sensed something was off. I had people investigate, and sure enough, it was deliberate. I watched Chen Sisi, who looked like she might collapse any moment, and splashed a cup of tea at her. Don't faint on us, Mrs. Chen. We still have questions to ask. You chose that exact moment, neither earlier nor later, to burst into the bridal chamber. Let me guess, you wanted Su Zhuangyuan to smoothly enter officialdom, yet didn't want him entangled with me, right? Knowing his loyalty and honor, you barged into the wedding hall, hesitating to speak. He'd inevitably demand answers. When he leaves the bridal chamber to see you, your goal is achieved. And knowing you're his wife from the countryside, he'll feel guilty toward you. Whether he makes you a concubine or finds another arrangement, he won't let you down. But as for me? Beyond the title of wife, what else could I possibly gain? Ha! Matters of the boudoir, how could a woman like me speak of them to outsiders? I'll just have to swallow my pride and keep it to myself. The crowd was stunned. Su Hongchen and the Su family seemed to no longer recognize Chen Sisi. Regardless of conscience, people instinctively despised those with such deep, hidden motives. Chen Sisi had paid the price for her wickedness. The Marquis pointed his sword at Chen Sisi's throat. You venomous woman. How could you be so heartless? I stopped the Marquis from striking, ending it with, a father's sword should not be drawn against women and children. He couldn't act, but Ying Qiao couldn't restrain herself. She slapped Chen Sisi several times and spat at her, you shameless woman. Before the crowd dispersed, they hurled rotten leaves at Chen Sisi. Her gaze met mine, and she mouthed silently, you won. Happy now? Won? In a society that devours its own, forced into opposition, there is no such thing as winning or losing. The incident inevitably affected Su Hongchen, whose official position was significantly lower than in the original storyline. The Su family sent numerous apologies. The child who had appeared openly in the original plot was now hidden away. Outsiders speak without a care for the pain. Many voices among the common folk blamed everything on Chen Sisi, claiming Su Hongchen had been harmed by a woman, and that the Marquis's household, unaware of the truth, still wanted us to proceed with the marriage. The clamor grew louder, and it couldn't be ruled out that some were deliberately fanning the flames. When my eldest brother told me this, I was painting. He was visibly agitated. It must be that Su Hongchen. He's shameless. Neither you nor father will let me settle the score with him. We, the esteemed Marquis's household, have more than enough resources to deal with a lowly commoner. You, say something. Precisely because dealing with Su Hongchen would be too easy, it would inadvertently reinforce his never underestimate a poor youth persona, turning the Marquis's residence into one of his stepping stones to power. I added the final stroke, brother, the swords of the Marquis's residence never point at innocent people. If you truly can't stand him, once things settle, just put a sack over his head. Don't worry, I have a plan. Setting down my brush, I clapped my hands. Maids filed in one after another. Before long, 2 carriages rolled out of the Marquis's residence in succession. One drove resolutely toward the city gates. The other sped urgently toward the imperial palace. The wind was fierce today, whipping open the carriage curtains to reveal my plain white robes. My gaze met Chen Sisi's from the 2nd floor of the tavern. She raised her cup to me. As if to say, see? You won't fare any better. At the city gate, I revealed my face. People gasped, the Marquis's daughter. It's truly the Marquis's daughter. She's dressed in mourning. Is she really taking vows? The Marquis's daughter is quite the troublemaker. Why didn't she just marry the top scholar? It was all the villain's doing. Why must she bring pain to those who love her and delight to her enemies? The curtain fell, then was lifted again. I smiled faintly and curtsied to the man. Thank you, sir, for your concern for this young lady. But I am not merely Jiang Yu, I am Jiang Yu of the Marquis' household, Jiang Yu of the Jiang clan of the capital. What difference does that make? Of course it makes a difference. Marrying the top scholar would already be a downgrade for my Marquis' household. Chen Sisi and Su Hongchen are both unscrupulous. Whether she was framed by them or reveled in it, both are slaps to the Ho family's face. I can swallow my pride for now, but I have sisters beneath me, and my clan has sisters too. I cannot let them be looked down upon because of me. The crowd was stunned. Ancient people cared too much about reputation, and the great Zhou dynasty I came to was no exception. It was like shackling oneself with chains. Sisters of one family, when one prospers, all prosper, when one suffers, all suffer. If one's reputation suffers, the others are tarnished as well. I cannot escape these shackles. Instead, I must use them to crown myself. As the eldest sister, how could I seek my own comfort while forcing my sisters down a thorny path? A gentleman does not speak of others' affairs, but as a witness, I have the right to say a word or two. The Su family truly has no sense of propriety. I kept my promise and went to the temple to pray for blessings. I stopped there, quietly exiting the city gate. Behind me, the murmurs continued. Yes, the Su family really has no sense of propriety. Exactly. Among the great families of the capital, which one has a woman adding fragrance to the chamber before the main wife is even married? If it were just a concubine, that would be one thing, but it was actually a secret lover. Ugh, utterly indecent. Why not just build a separate chamber? That woman is truly vicious. Waiting until after the wedding ceremony to make those ambiguous remarks, wasn't she forcing the Marquis' daughter into monastic life? Clearly it's those two's fault, yet the Marquis' daughter bears the worst consequences. Meanwhile, at the palace gates, the Marquis' wife, dressed in mourning robes, went to see the Empress Dowager, pleading for her intervention. She held back her grief, wishing only for the marriage to be called off. She was willing to raise her daughter for the rest of her life. The Marquis' household was wealthy and powerful, and her daughter would never go hungry. Seeing this, the crowd, having heard both sides of the story, murmured once more, "Ah, the heart of a parent is truly the most pitiable thing in the world." Based on their understanding of the Empress Dowager, they believed she could likely halt the marriage. Yet, the stain of disgrace would remain, making future marriages difficult. However, the turn of events was unexpected. I took up residence in the temple, awaiting the day to shave my head. As the golden sun sank below the horizon, the Marquis' wife finally entered my room quietly with her attendants. I poured tea. "Mother, have some tea." "Has anything changed?" Lady Ho nodded. "Yes. Nothing escapes your notice." In her youth, Lady Ho had been favored by the Empress Dowager. When she paid her respects in the past, though not always granted unimpeded access, she was never dismissed outright. Today's treatment led her to believe only that her request had displeased the Empress Dowager. Lady Ho waited meekly outside the door for a long time before being granted an audience. The moment they met, she was met with a sharp rebuke. The figure seated spoke pointedly. "Madam, you've certainly gone to great lengths for your daughter. Yet it seems you haven't taught her sufficient respect. Had you done better, perhaps these troubles might have been avoided." Madame Ho's heart sank, but she dared to reply, "Sometimes, even the best teaching cannot prevent misfortune from befalling one." The Empress Dowager slammed her teacup down, her displeasure palpable. Her demands were met with a deft deflection. Within the span of a single cup of tea, she was dismissed. Just outside the palace gates, she overheard the Empress Dowager speaking with a matron. "Bao Ju, what do you think? Should we retrieve every last blood relative scattered abroad? Blood ties must not be lost, but if they've picked up any bad habits while away, they'll need proper guidance. We must be cautious, great families are often beyond their own control." Lady Ho dared not listen further, yet she remembered it firmly. daring to speak only a little in my presence. I always feel the Empress Dowager speaks with hidden meaning. I prompted her. Brother told me at noon that Su Hongqian suddenly received a lucrative post. His abilities are passable. If he truly succeeds, he might earn favor with His Majesty. Imperial power reigns supreme. Who is lowly and who is noble depends entirely on the Emperor's whims. Madame Ho reacted after a long pause, incredulous. Are you suggesting that Chen Sisi is? Emperors of the Zhou dynasty loved touring their realms, and the one seated upon the throne now was no less fond of it than his predecessors. In the original storyline, not long after the Su family welcomed Chen Sisi back, she also acknowledged the emperor. Chen Sisi bore a striking resemblance to her mother. Coupled with her virtuous reputation and pitiable background, she garnered considerable sympathy. When I read it, some commenters speculated that this very reason might have made the original protagonist's death inevitable. For a princess could never become a concubine, nor could she voluntarily leave her husband. I nodded, confirming Lady Ho's conjecture. Lady Ho wept, my poor daughter, thank goodness you never married. Had you, you'd likely have perished young. Now, what are we to do? You're still so young. Life in the temple is harsh and cold, how will you endure it? I wiped her tears. Mother, don't fret. The wheel of fortune turns. Let them gloat for now. Our chance will come. The auspicious day for shaving my head arrived. As promised, I became a nun. My former sisters, unable to bear it, came to see me one after another. The temple had been prepared for my arrival. Because of my good reputation and my status as a victim, they turned a blind eye and treated me fairly well. Why didn't the Empress Dowager approve? Your situation is too tragic. Exactly. Before your marriage, we already sent people to investigate. With such a vast distance between us, if he truly wanted to conceal something, what could we possibly uncover? If there's one such case, there will be others. Are we to bear the consequences whenever some peasant woman, scheming to climb the social ladder, suddenly emerges? I reassured them, consider it my bad luck for stepping on these landmines ahead of you. Take this as a lesson, never rush into marriage. Make sure to investigate 3 generations of his family background. My bestie tapped my forehead. You still have the heart to joke around with us at a time like this. Never mind, let's not dwell on sad things. Tell us the latest gossip from the capital. They chattered excitedly about the new snack shop in town, its unique concept featuring regional delicacies from all over. They'd eaten their fill. Most importantly, it had separate seating for men and women, ensuring no disturbances, giving them a new place to go. Coincidentally, that shop was run by Chen Sisi. Too bad they didn't know it yet. I looked envious and begged my sisters to take my younger sister there. Fine, granted. My days at the temple were austere but peaceful. Su Hongqian's life, however, was nothing short of dramatic. He completed his mission and gained favor with the emperor. Thanks to Chen Sisi's influence, he received special favor from the imperial court. Those who shifted with the wind, especially those opposed to the Marquis' household, promoted Su Hongqian with great enthusiasm. He excelled in his duties. Within just half a year, he was unexpectedly transferred to the Ministry of Revenue, a lateral move that was highly unusual. On the surface, his rank remained comparable to before, but this was the Ministry of Revenue, a greasy, lucrative post where promotions flowed freely. It was a clear promotion in disguise. The rumors targeting him gradually faded. His reputation reversed, and he became one of the most promising top scholars. Perhaps he grew too complacent. While I was still deep in the temple, I received a note. It was written in a woman's delicate handwriting, elegant but lacking backbone. It read, "Fortune's turn. Is cultivation so bitter? Why not change your status and become my husband's concubine? Though you'd still be living as a widow, your days would be easier." It was clearly written by Chen Sisi, seeking revenge for her home mansion's earlier attempt to make her a concubine. Most ancient women would have been mortified and enraged upon reading it. But not me. I curved my lips. The show was about to begin. I hoped she'd still be able to smile then. Soon after, the noble ladies of the capital gathered at the shop. My sister unexpectedly spotted a boy who bore a striking resemblance to Su Hongqian. She led her sisters to follow him. They watched him run toward Chinsisi, calling her mother. The women gasped. The noble ladies pinched their noses in disgust. Such a quiet place, yet it breeds such filthy creatures. They've defiled this sacred ground. The boy, being young, was more sensitive to people's emotions. He shielded Chinsisi and shouted, "You can't say bad things about my mother. You're all bad people. If anyone should leave, it's you. This shop belongs to my mother." The aristocratic lady's eyes widened in shock. Taking advantage of the commotion, one girl asked the boy, "Who is your father?" "My father is, of course," he began, but was abruptly silenced. Chinsisi swiftly covered his mouth. "Humph. Looks like you truly chose this lowly life, hired as a wife, run off as a concubine, stolen as a prostitute. You're worse than a brothel girl. Disgraceful." Chinsisi ordered the child led away, her eyes flashing with defiance. "Lowly? You speak from a position of privilege, spouting nonsense without knowing the truth. Still sheltered maidens, aren't you? How dare you gossip about others' private affairs? Noble ladies are no better. You, very well. Slap her." The chancellor's daughter couldn't bear it anymore. "You break the rules and dare to silence us? You're the one spewing filth from your mouth. You're the expert at turning the tables." Chinsisi was struck several times across the face, the hatred in her eyes deepening. The noble ladies, however, were in no mood to linger, fearing they might catch something unsavory. Once outside, the younger sister pleaded with her companions not to reveal today's events. These were the original owner's former close friends, not foolish, they sensed the Marquis's household might be plotting something. They all agreed. That night, my eldest brother found a tree with dense foliage and had me hide within its branches to await the unfolding drama. The night dew was heavy, and the night watchman had just passed by. A dark figure slipped into the small courtyard. Moving with practiced ease, he entered Chinsisi's bedroom. The noise was considerable and quickly roused her. Seeing the person she'd longed for day and night, and recalling the recent injustices she'd endured, Chinsisi wept as she poured out her grievances. She spoke artfully, mentioning only the cold stares she'd received. Not a word about her son being discovered. Su Hongchen felt her pain deeply, holding her close and comforting her for a long while. Soon, he silenced her grievances with a kiss. Their silhouettes grew increasingly intimate, like intertwined mandarin ducks, utterly inseparable. The sounds of the night carried clearly. Up in another tree, the eldest brother's face darkened. After confirming the men he'd brought were guarding all points, he flicked a spark. The flames roared to life. "Fire! Fire!" Nearby villagers rushed to extinguish the blaze. Su Hongchen and Chinsisi, their clothes disheveled, fled from the bedroom. Officials also resided nearby. Su Hongchen had frequently interacted with them during government affairs. The couple were well-known figures in the capital. The firefighters recognized them instantly and froze. "Lord Su. Madam Qin? What are they doing here? What else could it be? That down their business. Lord Su claims he was deceived and bewitched, but it doesn't look like it to me. Perhaps Madam Qin truly was Magistrate Su's former wife. The two schemed to extort the home mansion. Truly, the world is going to the dogs." "Not necessarily. Even heroes can't resist a beauty's charms." Magistrate Su might have pitied Madam Qin for her years of devotion, yet feared the scandal. But what good reputation comes from keeping a mistress? As the heated argument raged, a child of about 3 years old ran out and called Su Hongchen daddy in front of everyone. What more needed to be said? Upon learning the truth, the Marquis presented a memorial during the morning court session. "Your Majesty, I have a matter to report. I accuse Lord Su of fraudulent marriage." The emperor sat bolt upright. "What?" "Last night, a fire broke out in a residence. While attempting to extinguish it, witnesses observed Su Hongchen and Chinsisi emerging from the building in disheveled clothing. Neighbors reported they had been secretly meeting for some time. Furthermore, they have a child of approximately 3 years old. The boy bears an uncanny resemblance to Su Hongchen." The emperor cleared his throat, perhaps to halt the Marquis's testimony. The Marquis feigned ignorance, pausing not at all. "Your servant recalls the Su household previously claiming Lady Qin came to them of her own accord. They took her in out of pity, insisting she seduced Lord Su. Lord Su is indeed a scholarly gentleman, but Lady Chen is an even more delicate woman, one who would collapse at the slightest touch. If he truly resisted, how could she have succeeded? How could she have borne a child nearly 3 years old? Setting that aside, even if she was bewitched before, such a scandal erupted. Yet Magistrate Su remained obsessed with Lady Chen, even keeping her as a concubine. This proves it wasn't one-sided affection as the Chen family claimed. The Marquis's choice of words hit every sensitive nerve. The imperial family might accept a princess with a tragic background and unfair fate, but a princess with a tarnished reputation, who engaged in illicit relations and willingly became a concubine, was an entirely different matter. The emperor's gaze darkened. The Marquis, oblivious, continued, "I never believed their lies from the start. I specifically sent people to investigate Lord Su's hometown. His fellow villagers all confirmed they referred to each other as husband and wife. Combined with Lady Chen deliberately delaying the wedding night, I have reasonable grounds to suspect they committed marriage fraud." Su Hongchen's forehead was drenched in sweat, clearly terrified. The Minister of Revenue stepped forward. He had long harbored resentment towards Su Hongchen and couldn't fathom why the emperor held him in such high regard. He cut straight to the point, "Minister Su Hongchen, have you truly lost your memory? Then why did you recover so swiftly and reunite with Lady Chen?" Su Hongchen's knees buckled, and he fell to his knees. "Your Majesty sees clearly. I truly did lose my memory and dare not conceal anything. Seeing Lady Chen brought back my recollections gradually. Regardless of outside doubts, she is my wife." "Liar! Then why haven't you brought her back?" Su Hongchen cautiously glanced at the Marquis. "Having previously offended your lordship, I feared it would distress the Marquis's daughter." The Marquis seethed. "My daughter has already taken vows, secluded herself from the world, and lives a life of prayer and fasting. You can't control your own desires, yet you dare shift the blame onto her? My daughter is truly pitiful. Tricked by such adulterers into a life of monastic austerity. Yet the instigator escapes with a mere deep affection? If I cannot protect my own daughter, what meaning is there in fighting on the battlefield? They say country before family, but without domestic peace, how can the rear be secure?" The Marquis knelt. "I beg your Majesty to judge me by my lifetime of military achievements." The court officials were enraged, kneeling in unison to plead for the emperor's judgment. The emperor, who had been inclined to favor one side, watched the crowd. The scales, tilted to one side, swayed violently before tipping sharply to the other. "Su Hongchen, did you deceive her into marriage?" "Your servant did not." "Humph. You won't believe it until you see the coffin. 20 lashes first." Su Hongchen was dragged out and received 20 lashes, each delivered with full force. He gritted his teeth and refused to confess, knowing that admitting guilt would bring him a grim fate. Yet he didn't realize that sometimes belief hinged solely on the whim of those in power. The emperor's mind had turned against the Ho family. Whether Su Hongchen confessed or not, he was guilty of deceitful marriage. Stripped of his official rank, he was banished to the frontier to appease the public's resentment. As for the young lady of the Ho family, she too was coerced by villains. Though she went through the wedding ceremony, the bridal chamber was never shared. I hereby grant her permission to annul the marriage and marry another with a pure heart. Whoever dares to bring this up again, or looks down upon her, shall be regarded as defying my imperial will. The Marquis rejoiced. "Thank you, your Majesty, for your great kindness." The day I was welcomed back, it coincided with Su Hongchen's exile. My elder brother had the carriage halted and stepped down to question Su Hongchen. "Su Hongchen, have you truly lost your memory?" Su Hongchen's eyes darted about, but he gave no answer. Urged on by the constables, he walked away shackled in heavy stocks. Before departing, he glanced back, his eyes filled with profound sorrow. Not far away, Chen Sisi's small food stall had already closed. A grim-faced guard escorted an unremarkable carriage, following Su Hongchen as he left. Seeing my curiosity, my eldest brother explained, "That's Chen Sisi in the carriage." I was even more astonished. Was she that devoted? Even in this situation, she still followed him. The emperor ordered her to accompany him. "Little sister, rest assured, I'll have people keep tabs on them. Only they can go to the frontier. They won't have it easy." It seemed Chinchisi's actions had truly angered the imperial family. Previous incidents could be blamed on the Su family, but willingly becoming a mistress was utterly disgraceful. They both lacked patience. Had they endured a little longer, waited until the storm passed, Chinchisi could have started anew under a different identity. But what did that matter to me? I turned and climbed into the carriage. A few days after returning home, the Empress Dowager summoned me, citing my grievances. Sensing ill intent, I went to the palace dressed as a nun. The Empress Dowager raised her eyes, her gaze sharpening at my attire. Is this outfit meant to remind this palace of your suffering? I remained composed. Your Majesty, forgive me. This servant has taken monastic vows. Wearing anything else would seem strange. During my time in the Buddhist hall, I gained profound insights and planned to build a small shrine at home to worship the Buddha daily. The matron beside her had someone remove my headdress, confirming my shaven head. She nodded to the Empress Dowager. Her expression softened as she motioned for me to rise and drink tea. Once I had relaxed, the Empress Dowager posed another question. Life is hard for women in this world. What should be done when one woman stands in another's way? Here it comes. I considered carefully before replying. Women's circumstances are indeed difficult. Yet like men, they experience both rivalry and conflict, as well as harmony and mutual support. Competition is for survival. If a woman is strong-willed and spirited, they will compete, but not fight to the death. There will even be moments of mutual admiration. Reasonable. But if a woman of poor character stubbornly blocks another woman's last path, she cannot blame her for fighting back. We should treat kindred spirits like the gentle spring breeze, yet confront enemies with the ruthless precision of a hammer. Without decisiveness against adversaries, how can one survive? A flicker of light pierced the Empress Dowager's cloudy eyes as she stroked her signet ring. Your words carry weight. Every mother in this realm loves her child profoundly. When it comes to their own offspring, no matter how many mistakes they make, they cannot bring themselves to punish them. Humph, still too soft-hearted. Seeing through her thoughts yet choosing not to speak them aloud, I merely replied, when children err, their parents bear the consequences. But when even they can bear it no longer, one must console oneself with the thought that there is no shortage of children. The Empress Dowager paused, as if suddenly understanding. Indeed, there are other children. You have been good. I have prepared a gift for you, and I shall bestow upon you 1,000 taels of gold to calm your nerves. She seemed utterly exhausted and hurriedly dismissed me. As I reached the doorway, I heard her mutter to herself, she's right. The palace has never lacked for children. We can't just focus on the pitiful one and ignore the capable ones. Far from the palace, I exhaled deeply. I knew this ordeal was finally over. Months later, my hair slowly grew back. My second brother escorted me out of the city, urging me to travel south to enjoy the scenic landscapes. With the emperor's decree, no one dared mention that marriage again. Some brought marriage proposals, seeking to arrange a match for me, but I refused them all. First, their family backgrounds were too lowly, and the affairs involved were too troublesome for me to bother with. Second, I yearned for freedom and did not wish to be confined within the inner quarters. Had I been an ordinary woman, I would indeed have needed a husband to shield me from the wolves and tigers outside. But the legitimate daughter of the Marquis's household did not. After passing through the city gates, we traveled another 20 li. My second brother finally bid me farewell. Travel safely. Jincheng will always be your home. I know. Thank you, second brother. I journeyed through mountains and rivers, utterly content. Occasionally, I received carrier pigeon letters with updates on Su Hongchen's situation. The Empress Dowager had persuaded the emperor, who did not pity his daughter as in the original storyline. He sent her to the frontier, letting them be together, and then paid them little mind. Su Hongchen toiled daily as a laborer, his wounds deepening day by day. What devastated him most was the utter hopelessness of his situation. This would be his life forever. He inevitably blamed Chinchisi, leading to arguments between them. The once loving couple had become a constant source of friction. Barring any surprises, they would continue like this until old age, until death. I tore up the last letter. No need to send me news of them anymore. I don't care. Remember to keep an eye on their son. Don't give him any chance to seek revenge against the Ho mansion. The guard agreed, understood. I chose a place to settle down. In my leisure, I watched fallen blossoms. In my busier moments, I practiced the arts of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Occasionally, I went out to distribute soup. Using the knowledge I gained in the modern world and the wealth of the home mansion, I made small efforts for the common folk of this era, teaching them to make better fertilizer, deal with locusts, and so on. Time passed slowly, yet never tediously. It fulfilled my dream of a pastoral life. The end.